From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Daryl Clark. Sarah Dubowski has the evening off. Our top story, the Alaska Senate on Monday passed its version of House Bill 256, which funds the state operating budget for FY 2017. The $4.3 billion spending plan cuts just over $60 million from the version of the bill that passed the Alaska House last week. The bill now heads back to the House for consideration. If rejected, it will move to a conference committee between the two bodies. The budget totals $8.7 billion, including federal and state spending. The state faces a near $4 billion budget gap, and Senate Majority leaders say they pushed the budget at an historic pace to allow lawmakers time to consider revenue options under Governor Walker's fiscal plan. The Senate Minority offered 7 amendments that were all voted down on caucus lines. Senate Minority members have been critical of tax credits for refineries and oil companies and sought to remove them from the budget to spare cuts to state agencies. In a wrap-up on Monday, Senate Finance Co-Chair Pete Kelly claimed the tax credits will be reviewed in the coming weeks.
We didn't fund the tax credits. They're not in this bill. So all that impassioned plea, those programs may be worthy of an impassioned plea, but it is not relevant to make the link to corporate welfare or tax credits in this bill. We only funded the statutory amount, which was, I think, $73 million. That's a piece of foundational truth that needs to be reported, is that the tax credits are not going out to rich, evil corporations. They're not in the bill.
In January, BP Alaska announced it was cutting about 4,000 jobs worldwide, and about 270 of those would be in Alaska. Most of the reductions were to be in the oil and gas exploration division. Today, BP announced that current low oil prices are going to mean additional layoffs. The oil company will reportedly lay off another 4% of its employees and agency contractors, which would mean about 80 more lost jobs here in Alaska. Last week, BP said it's cutting the number of rigs on the North Slope from 5 to 2. Today, oil was at about $38 a barrel. Arctic Science Summit Week continued with a variety of activities and meetings. We sat in on an Arctic policy briefing today and have more in this report.
International Arctic policy is a big reason why the Arctic Science Summit Week exists. It's a chance for Arctic countries to meet and discuss international guidelines that can better the Arctic and the world as a whole. At the Arctic policy briefing, one of the panel speakers, Douglas Causey, who is the principal investigator for the Arctic Domain Awareness Center of Excellence, talked about how the climate change in the Arctic is creating the need for new and modified policies.
Here in Alaska, we are seeing the effects of climate change faster and stronger than anywhere else. And this is affecting where we live, how we get resources, how much we pay for energy, our state budget, and the rest. And what determines that on a state and on a national level is the policy that are made by the policymakers in terms of rules and laws and regulations.
One example of a need for an updated system was brought up by panelist Mark Myers, who has held several senior leadership positions for the state and the University of Alaska. Myers suggested strategic land trades as a top policy to adjust.
We have lands of huge ecological value that may be owned, say, by a state or a native corporation that might be better suited and managed through the Fish and Wildlife Service or some other organization in trade for other lands that's higher in resource development, which could then help community sustainability and the Alaska economy.
A refreshing side to policymakers in the Arctic Council is the importance they put on peace and cooperation no matter what's going on around the world. Betsy Baker, a consultant on environmental law and ocean policy, has seen this firsthand with her work mapping the Arctic Ocean continental shelf.
So what we've seen in the Arctic for many years is great cooperation, even when there's discord in other parts of the world, in part because many of the Arctic states, all of the Arctic states, share the same physical area, but also some of the same hardships of living there and just the climatic conditions, how rapidly they're changing.
Changes could mean an increase in shipments with opening sea ice, land changes due to water drainage, or even a shift in animal migration. And with these changes comes the need for new and updated policies. Sarah Dubowski reporting.
When we come back, the Obama administration announced today that Alaska waters would be allowed 3 future lease sales. We'll explain about that. Also, in this week's health report, a good night's sleep is important, but in Alaska with all the daylight, that could be a problem. We'll explore the solutions. Stay with us. And welcome back. 3 future lease sales in Alaska waters are included in the Obama administration's proposed 5-year offshore drilling plan. Interior Secretary Sally Jewell announced the plan Tuesday in Washington, D.C. The proposal covers potential federal offshore lease sales from 2017 through 2022. Environmental groups in Alaska were hoping to see Arctic waters kept out of future lease sales. That didn't happen, but the plan notes 6 Alaska areas that could receive additional protections. Governor Bill Walker says including Alaska in future offshore lease sales is good news for the state. He says he looks forward to having detailed conversations about constructing lease sales that will benefit Alaska economically, but also limit risks to other activities. However, U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan says the news is akin to a car dealership announcing a lease sale without providing any keys. He says that for production to be realized and for Alaska to benefit, there needs to be regulatory certainty and a willingness on the part of the executive branch to work with instead of against leaseholders. The State Department of Health and Social Services will hold a meeting at Two Rivers Wednesday to let residents of the area know about the possibilities of arsenic in their water. The meeting is set from 6:30 p.m. in Two Rivers Church at the Nazarene at 4629 Chena Hot Springs Road. Free testing will be offered by DEC staff. Arsenic is found in groundwater in many areas around Fairbanks and Chena Hot Springs, and some high levels have been found in wells in the Two Rivers area recently. A public health scientist with the department said it's important for people in the vicinity to have their water checked.
Encourage people to go to the community meeting on Wednesday, to give us a call. This is a really important issue, and we understand that many private well owners do not test their water, not even once, and they really need to make sure to test it at least once for not just arsenic, but for nitrates and for coliforms in case there's a bacterial, microbial contamination, and just make sure that they're drinking safe water.
Trying to sleep can be difficult if you can't find a dark place, and in Fairbanks that can be a challenge sometimes in spring and summer. Monty Bowen talks about dealing with the light when you're trying to sleep in this week's Health Report.
There are many things that can impact our ability to sleep. Too much noise and too much caffeine are common culprits. Living in Fairbanks, you know what it's like to try to sleep when it's light out. We're gaining about 7 minutes of daylight each day right now, and by mid-June, it's light most hours of the day.
The light exposure, in essence, is somewhat disrupting our circadian rhythm, especially at night, because you don't want that bright light exposure at night when you're supposed to be asleep.
Dr. Maris says bright light is alerting. She says we take cues from the intensity of light and the timing of light, and that's what helps us sleep and wake. Exposure to too much light at night can contribute to disorders such as those seen in folks who work overnight shifts. Taking preventative measures is a good idea.
Blackout drapes are great and can be very effective. So especially in our shift workers who work at night and then they're going home and they're trying to get sleep, it's hard to do that if you see the sun streaming through your windows.
In addition to blackout curtains, the doctor said a sleep mask that covers the eyes can also be effective for blocking out unwanted light. This is Monty Bowen reporting.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building, and by Interior Women's Health, located on 1626 30th Avenue.
Well, the Iditarod finished early this morning, and the CV clan is on top of the mushing world again. Joe Cook has more on the Iditarod winner and what the state tournament looks like after regional basketball action. Sports is next.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. We have a loaded Tuesday sportscast tonight, and records are made to be broken, but maybe not by the same person. That doesn't apply to Dallas Seavey. Dallas Seavey came into Nome with 6 dogs at 2:20 this morning to win Iditarod 44. In his 10th race, the 29-year-old set a new record, finishing in 8 days, 11 hours, 20 minutes, and 16 seconds. His previous record in 2014 was 8 days, 13 hours, 4 minutes, and 19 seconds. Seavey joins elite company, becoming the 7th musher to win 4 Iditarod titles. He's won 3 straight and 4 in the last 5 years. Now, in the last 5 Iditarods, his lowest finish was 4th overall, giving him one of the best 5-year stretches ever. Susan Butcher had a better stretch in the late 80s, getting no worse than 2nd place over 5 years. Mitch Seavey, Dallas's father, checked in at 3:05 and has the 2nd fastest time ever in 8 days, 12 hours, 5 minutes, and 25 seconds. So the Seaveys continue their dominance in the Iditarod. And as we look at other notables, Ali Zirkle, who finished an arduous Iditarod, came in 3rd place, checking into Nome at 9:42 this morning with 13 dogs. And a spectacular finish, Wade Mars, he closes in on Peter Kaiser in the home stretch and edges him by 2 minutes to place 4th. Yor Uslam was the 6th musher into Nome today. Jeff King is in 9th place, and he is on his way to Nome. Brent Sass, who was among the front runners for much of the race, went back to White Mountain, and he is 12th overall. The 2015-2016 season has come to an end for the Alaska Nanoks. Over the weekend, the rifle and ski teams finished their seasons. Here's more in the Nanok Corner. The UAF women's ski team finished as the 6th fastest Nordic team in the country. They totaled 88 points after 2 days of skiing on Saturday in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Junior Anatina Marxette placed 14th overall in the 15K mass start for UAF. Sarissa Lammers, a sophomore, was 23rd. But Nicole Baith was the top skier for Alaska, placing 7th overall. She finished in 55 minutes, 22.5 seconds, making her 2nd team All-American for a top 10 finish. It's the 2nd All-American honor for the junior. Mike Fehrenbach placed 22nd respectively in the men's 20K race for UAF. Good news and bad news for Nanook Rifle. Here's the bad. The number 3 rifle team finished 6th overall at the end of the National Rifle Championships on Saturday. The good news is that Tim Cherry and Sagan Madalena were named to the U.S. National Rifle Team and received All-American honors from the NRA and Collegiate Rifle Coaches Association. Madalena, a sophomore, was first team air and small bore for the NRA. She won 6 air gun titles this year. Cherry, a senior, was NRA first team small bore and 2nd team in air gun. He ends his career with 9 All-American honors and a 2014 small bore national title.
Nanook Corner, brought to you by Sports Medicine Fairbanks.
Now for high school hoops, and we know who will be in the big dance in Anchorage later this month. In the girls' MAC title game on Saturday, West Valley and Lathrop, they clashed for their 5th meeting. The Wolfpack, they started hot with a quick 12-4 lead. They were up by 10 at the break, led by Ruthie Hubert's game-high 31 points. Lathrop had a few rallies to make the game close in the second half. Jana Hadukovic led the charge with 26 points for the Malamutes, but Teresa Sample had 13 timely buckets for the Wolfpack. And West Valley, they three-peat as MAC champions with a 62-53 victory.
Milo keeps yelling at me to take my shots, so I try and take more of my shots and be more aggressive on rebounding.
I think it gives us lots of confidence going into the state tournament. I think we can win state this year, hopefully, and if we play like we have been doing, I have no doubt.
And in the boys' final, the Wolfpack also got off to a great start, sparked by Cornelius Mingle Jr., who had 14 points. Daniel Hornbull, he had a game-high 20 points, even though that put-back dunk did not count. Great game from him. Looked like West Valley was headed for a blowout before Lathrop's mad frenzy in the 4th quarter. They cut a 16-point deficit down to just 4. Glenn Maiden Jr., he scored all 10 of his points in the 4th quarter alone. Gabe Howard, he led the Malamutes with 12 points. Lathrop made it 53-57 late, but time ran out on Lathrop, and West Valley made some key free throws to secure a 59-53 win and repeat as MAC champions.
We tell the kids all the time, you know, hard work pays off, and this is a testament to their hard work. It really paid off. Finished the season 19-4. It's off to state now. Great group of kids.
And in the award tournament at West Valley High School, the Monroe Rams had to win the second place game against Valdez to earn a state berth, falling to Delta in the award title game on Friday night. Monroe started on a 12-2 run, and Valdez was playing catch-up from there. Bennett Hinkle, he had a game-high 21 points for Valdez as they tried to keep the game in single digits in the second half, but it wasn't enough. Monroe held off the Bucks, and they win 56-45, and they will go to state for the 6th straight year. And the state tournament brackets were released, and here are the quarterfinal matchups. The West Valley boys and girls will both play East Anchorage. The Lathrop girls will play defending champion Diamond. In 3A boys, Monroe plays Bethel, and Delta Junction, they will get ACS. In the girls bracket of the 3A tournament, Hutchinson will play Bethel, and Galena gets Barrow. All games will be at the Alaska Airlines Center. The 3A-4A state tournaments start March 24th. And that's it for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Mike Schultz is next with weather, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into weather for Tuesday night. Mike Schultz with you once again. We can't quite say goodbye to winter yet, even though the first day of spring is only this coming Sunday. But still, Mother Nature decided to not give up too easily with some snow. Looking at a lot more snow in the forecast. We'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Tonight on weather, we're going to be talking about quite a few things. First of all, the light snow should become steady by morning, so more accumulation is expected. In fact, up to 5 inches of snow is possible by Thursday, and even more in some of the other outlying areas. And the snow will end with colder temperatures for the weekend. So temperatures dropping down to around 20 degrees each day. Now, as far as what's going on right now at the airport, 19 for our high today. The overnight low last night, 13. The record high, 45 in 1933. 46 below in 1964. Sunrise and sunset, about 11 hours and 47 minutes as we approach that 12-hour barrier. A gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. What's going on the satellite and radar? You can see a lot more than there was yesterday. A little more energy moving across the state, all the way from southeast Alaska, even a few thunderstorms in those clouds there. And there's the snow around the Fairbanks area. We'll zoom in on the radar and show you what's going on. Little band's been hanging to the west of the Fairbanks area all day long. Now it's starting to move slowly to the east, and there's quite a bit of moisture in this band. So as it moves across slowly, that's where we're getting expected to get our decent snowfall from. What's going on across the rest of the state? Well, over southeast Alaska, the rains continue to fall at Ketchikan, but kind of chilly today, only at 39 degrees there. Even cooler at Juneau, 37 degrees. Just some clouds and fog around the Anchorage Bowl, 40 degrees there, 40 degrees, and the rains have finally stopped around the Kodiak region. Around the Cold Bay area, 38 degrees and cloudy skies. Bethel, 18 degrees, even cooler at Nome, 12 degrees for their high today. Up on the North Slope, Barrow at 4 degrees below zero, and Fort Yukon at 12 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Lower 48 weather, not quite as much energy moving on the Pacific Northwest, so the flow is becoming actually a little more to the northwest, to the southeast. But this massive moisture moving across here spawned some pretty good thunderstorm activity across the Minneapolis area and into Chicago. Elsewhere across the country, not too bad of weather. This storm system across the Midwest is expected to bring with it quite a bit of damaging winds and isolated tornadoes even possible, with some hail, quite a large area expected there. Okay, time for once again our weather fact for today. And our weather fact, it was in 1988, Marquette, Michigan had more than 43 inches of snow after they snowed for 4 consecutive days. Didn't stop. You can imagine what damage that caused. And as far as our weather fact, we'll always thanks to Mount McKinley Bank for sponsoring our Kids Weather. And speaking of Kids Weather, they'll be with us next week from Northern Lights Academy. All right, here's your forecast for the northern sections for Alaska tomorrow. Mostly cloudy skies at Barrow, more sunshine at Nome, but then light snow is expected of about 1 to 3 inches of accumulation for Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, quite a bit more snowfall to talk about. 2 to 3 inches in the Fairbanks area, a chance of snow in Delta Junction, but there's a weather advisory in effect for the Healy area for 6 to 10 inches of snow by Thursday morning. And that's quite a bit of snowfall, as you can well imagine. Going to be giving you some driving condition problems, so keep that in mind. Over southeast Alaska, rain and snow at Juneau. Periods of rain expected in Ketchikan. While over to the southwest part of the state, we'll be looking at partly cloudy skies at Cold Bay, mostly sunny skies in Bethel, and cloudy skies for Kodiak. And over the south central regions, snow showers expected for Anchorage, snow showers at Homer, and another 6 to 10 inches of snow expected in the Valdez region. And speaking of the snow at Healy, we do have a winter weather advisory in effect right on through Thursday. 6 to 10 inches of snow is expected in the Healy area, right on through Wednesday night into the Thursday morning period. And again, keep that in mind if you're thinking of driving in that direction. It's going to be pretty rough going through the park. Our forecast for the Fairbanks area, periods of snow with a couple inches possible overnight. 4 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast, more snow likely with 2 to 3 inches likely by evening. 24 degrees for the high. And the extended forecast, the snow tapering off on Thursday to flurries, then just partly cloudy to sunny skies across the rest of the 5-day period there. Temperatures cooling down though. Daytime highs right around 20 degrees each day. Overnight lows about 5 degrees. And our weather photograph for tonight, well, this one was sent in by Ron Plummer, the Denali Park Mountains. And for you folks that were wondering what kind of bird that was last night with the owl, Bill Blizzard says it was a camp robber. I'm not sure what kind it is, but that's what he calls it. Anyway, if you have a photo to share, send it to photos@ktvf11.com.
All right, thank you, Mike. That will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Well, tonight on NBC Nightly News, the NFL today acknowledged that there's a direct link between football and brain disorders. That's up next with Lester Holt.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
All right, from all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
Good night.